Well, that was 19. Mine was 21.
Ready? All right, I want to welcome everybody to the February 20th, 2018. It's 6:02. I'd like to call this meeting to order. At this time, I need approval of the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Let's have it. We'll see Pastor Bernie here. We'll have Mr. Michael Woodward to give us our invitation and our pledge tonight.
Thank you very much.
The Bible says be instant in season, out of season, right? Let's bow our heads and close our eyes. Father, we just thank you so much for life and living. We know you're the author of life. And Lord, we know that as you give us life every day, as we reflect on the life that you've given us, we just thank you for being there all along the way. So tonight, Lord, as we come together, conduct county business, we're going to let it be your business. We're going to turn it all over to you. Because when we do that, it'll all work out some way or the other to the good, for the common good of everyone here and throughout the county. So Lord, we commit everything to you. We ask your Holy Spirit to permeate our thoughts and our understanding. So we'll all come to conclusion and agreement of what you want to be done in and through us here tonight. So in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Very much. First on agenda tonight, board appointments. We'll need to table this at this time because at this time we don't have anybody for this appointment. We're still in search of somebody to fill this position, so we'll need to table it. So we'll move on to consent agenda approval for minutes. We got the first Tuesday, February 6, 2018. We have a work session on February 6, 2018 at 5 p.m. I'll need a motion for approval.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, have it. We have a visitor tonight, Mr. Herb Ingalls. You'd like to talk about animal services suggestion? Would you like to come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Herb Ingalls. I'm from Jonathan's district. Give you a little plug.
Appreciate it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Margie, Attorney Childs. I have a suggestion that we create an advisory board for animal services. The way I envision it, just a couple of quick highlights that I've got, is that we can assist in code development, problem solving, recommend solutions, help determine best practices, actually work on updating policies and procedures with the current staff. Also help work with and better define the roles for some of the volunteer organizations within the county to assist, which I think in the long run is going to save the county quite a bit of money. So this board is, I envision it would be about 5 people from the county that have at least a reasonable knowledge about animals, dogs, cats, since that's the main focus here. But I would also suggest that maybe we get some people from the large animal community involved as well. The idea is that part of Animal Services Charter goes with the EMA in disaster preparedness. And that's another big way the advisory board might be able to assist. So in short, that's my suggestion.
Any questions for Mr. Ingalls?
Mr. I would like us to really visit that with John's comments. We currently have a recreation advisory board. And I was reading something in our Georgia Trend magazine not too long ago. It was talking about community have advisory boards made up of citizens. It's always good to get their input as they come and make recommendations to the full board. So I would strongly support an advisory board for our animal control services.
Mr. Kitchen, you got it?
No, I agree with Commissioner Pitts. I think it's a great idea. The Recreation Advisory Board has come up with some great ideas, and and helped us move things along there. And again, I also like to see John get with them and come up with some ideas, some bylaws, and some different things that we could use. Maybe even talk about members and committee members.
Attorney Child, wouldn't this be something that the board would have to be involved in as far as board appointments and all?
Would be board appointments.
Mr. Mark?
You know, I would say our animal services process is where it is because we have concerned citizens like you. It's a no-brainer that it should happen. I don't know if it's an opportunity on the agenda because it's on the agenda to put it into motion. The recommendation he makes is plain and clear for me. It's a no-brainer. When do we do it?
We'll obviously need to add it to agenda, coming up agenda, and give John and Herb and his group and Mr. Risner time to sit down and get it put together so they can present it to the board.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason, you want to use the rec advisory board as a template? I think we did the same thing there. We had board appointments for each district and then one at large. I think it'd be, instead of reinventing the wheel, I think it'd work well with John on.
My only caveat to that would be some of the large animals too, because I think you might have some differentiated representation. I think that's a good default, but I would lean more to, the type of people that they want on that, especially if it involves a veterinarian or somebody else. I'm okay with leaving that open.
Frank, is there an opportunity or is it a possibility for if we have district appointments or board appointments is it possible to appoint someone outside of your district? That way, if we're looking for the qualifications, then if someone that's just using a veterinarian that happens to be in Commissioner
Sure,
Martin's,
each commissioner would have one appointment if we do it that way, wherever that person lives.
it doesn't have to be within
Right.
your district. And I think that gives you 5 opportunities to find the qualifications that you're looking for that they need for the board.
Okay.
Then Attorney Child was asked, don't we have a dangerous dog committee? Is it made up of?
We do, yes. Yeah,
We do.
right.
Okay.
Does it report to this board?
I don't know how because me and him talked today, as a matter of fact. Basically, since I started leaving, hasn't really had to come out and do anything. He actually told her that he was thinking about just maybe passing it on to somebody else, whatever, because it's not really necessary.
That's certainly something that
Just roll that one into this advisory
could
board.
write that in, roll that in.
But that's something I'd have to sit down and talk to him about in detail, find out what he's trying to talk and pass it.
Well, Mr. Engel, you and all your volunteers, the board appreciate very much what y'all do and helping with all these animals and all this. The public-private partnership on this has been great. I mean, every time I go by Animal Services, I can't believe it. All the people there volunteering their time every day for the good, the well-being of these animals.
Well, I'm impressed by John Jackson, his staff, and also the President Commissioners Group done a great job encouraging the community to do that. And we really need that tied together. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business tonight. Number 1, we got Board of Education Bond Tax Levy Resolution 201-802-2R. Blake Sharpton of Butler Snow and BOE Superintendent Chuck Gibson. See Mr. Gups here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You get the uglier of the two. Mr. Gibson couldn't be here. I'm sorry. I've been in front of you guys several times, and thank you for having me back. My name is Blake Sharpton. I'm the bond counsel for the school system. As a quick matter of just personal privilege, just sitting here, I work all over the state for school systems in cities and counties. You guys are one of the most collaborative, thoughtful groups I ever get to go in front of. I mean, that discussion right there was phenomenal. So just so you know,
Thank you.
That doesn't happen everywhere. It doesn't happen hardly anywhere, to be candid with you.
Thank you very much.
And the relationship that you guys have with the school system is equally fantastic. It's just smooth. It's anyway, whatever, sorry, to digress. But last March, the school system presented a voter referendum to continue the 1 penny sales tax for education. Along with that referendum was request to issue up to $15 million of bonds that would be repayable with the proceeds of that sales and use tax for education. That vote passed swimmingly, and so the school system is now planning on issuing bonds next week. The Board of Education met last week and approved a bond resolution, and with that comes their obligation to report that to you guys, just to, number one, let you know what they're doing. Number two, state law also requires them to put in place a backup levy in case the sales tax proceeds are insufficient. So in front of you is a tax levy resolution that memorializes that they've done what they should do, even if the law didn't require them to do, which is to come just tell you what they're doing. Number two, it says, hey, if the sales taxes are insufficient, they would, in their standard levy setting process, as they already do now, they would have to at least consider adding potential levy to cover that debt service. As a practical matter, they have sized the bond issue meaningfully less than what they project in sales tax collections, so they don't ever expect to have to do that, but the law requires them to do it, so that's what's in front of you. So it's, hey, here's what we're doing, and if they ever did need to levy that tax, they would do it in their same certification process that they would do every year. So don't want to make it too simple, but that really is it for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I've been involved with Blake in looking at several drafts of the resolution, and came up with his final draft last week. As he said, it complied with the law. It's something the board, I hate to say has to do, but it's pretty much, it's a routine thing. When they're issuing bonds, the final approval has to come from the board.
Sure. Any questions from the board at this time?
Got a couple.
Here, Mr. Martin.
First, the bond is 10.75 million, and then on the other side, the levy could go to a maximum amount of 15 million. How will they determine that, and when would we be notified if that's going to happen?
Well, the max amount of bonds they could issue would be up to 15, and if they want to issue more bonds, they'd have to do another bond resolution and come back to you and tell you they've decided to issue the balance.
Right. And the reason why I asked that, because the base amount is 10.7 and the maximum is 15, and that's only a $4.3 million difference only. But in this county, that's a quarter of our budget from a county perspective, and so that's why I asked the question. And if that went beyond this board's, not just our board's, but that current board's election cycle, would that new board have the ability to go to 15 million?
Well, from a practical matter, the last maturity of the bonds is 2025. So they couldn't extend so it just kind of run out of time is really how that would work. Okay. So the next board, however, that would may be the same individuals on the board, but when the I guess we're on SPLOST 5, I think is the what we're on now in terms of sales tax cycles for the school system. In 2020, 1920, sorry, you see me count. 2024, when that would expire, they would seek voter approval to do it again at that point. Depending upon whether they issued the balance of the 15 million, they would kind of reconsider whether to seek authorization from voters to borrow some more money. That's what they would do.
Two more quick ones. Is there a reason why they don't itemize the amounts per category of spending? It's sort of generic.
What? In terms of use of the bond money? Right. Well, that is every category that was approved by the voters.
Right. If I wanted to, I could spend $9 million on it.
Sure. They're spending every bit that's on the high school. That's what they're doing.
Right. Okay. Because it lists all the other stuff.
And it does. And the practical reason is they have money left over. Sometimes the state will supplement the construction budget, and we don't want to just practically, if they have a few bucks left over, we want to have another thing to do with it. Basically, is why we set it up that way.
Fair enough. Last question. Interest rates, and I don't know bonds. You don't have to explain bond technology or information to me, but it's staggered. So it goes 3%, 4%, 5%. Is that normal?
It is, yeah. So typically what happens is a bond buyer will buy, say, one out of the 5 bonds, or they'll buy 2 out of the five bonds. And they're typically bond funds, so they have their own kind of investment strategy. And so, say, bond fund number 1 is looking for really short-term paper. Bond fund number 2 would look for longer-term paper. So the underwriter will kind of match the maturity to what the bond fund's investment policy is. And then, they'll kind of do some horse trading. Bond buyers paid a whole lot more for each of these bonds than the face value. And that drives the interest rate down, and you get an overall yield of about 2.1%. That's really that's the final rate because of that horse trading that goes back and forth.
I'm just curious because as an investor, I definitely want 5% as opposed to 3.
Right.
So, all right.
To get that 5, you'd have to pay about 105% of the principal value of the bond, which, you end up with about 2.
I got you.
So it's really good questions,
Thank
by
you.
the way.
Any more questions? Well, by the recommendation of Attorney Childs, do I have a motion?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
A motion, we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Moving on, number 2 is contract for probation supervision services.
Mr. Chairman, again, this is presented to us by the Superior Court Clerk's Office. You might recall just a couple of months ago, we approved a new contract with the private probation company for the probate court. This is the same kind of thing. It's another private probation company that handles, since 2001, the career state probation officers cannot handle misdemeanors in Superior Court. It's felonies only. So the misdemeanors are now handled by the private probation companies. This is the same company we've been dealing with. They did just like the one a couple of months ago. They had to change some language in the contract to comply with some new statutory requirements. Doesn't change our obligations at all. It doesn't change the fees they're paying. Doesn't change anything. So I've looked at it and recommend we approve it.
All right. Any questions for Attorney Childs?
Attorney Childs, I think I was reading through this. Don't some of these people have to do drug screenings and other services like that?
Yep.
Because what I want to do, Chairman, just in case there was a come to make an occupation, I'd rather kind of abstain from voting on this right here because I want to be like, I'm trying to get business and mom. So
Sure.
One question for, probably for legal. Do we have any say-so, or is there any, part of it where the community service is involved? Was that strictly through the third party, or does it, if a judge, allows community service in lieu of some form of payment?
That's up to the judge. The judge can do that in certain instances.
But if he determines that this one is forfeit a certain amount of the fines for in lieu of community service, how is that brought through the third party contractor? Are there services? I know most of the contracts go through. Just say if they were in Macon, if the company was located in Macon, do they allow the community service in Macon, or do we get the benefit in Jones County?
Well, it's got to be a Jones County case for us to get it. The judge cannot change anything as far as the probation company's fees, what they charge, what they do, what Commissioner Pitts just alluded to, drug tests, screenings, those kind of things. What the judges can do is waive the fines. The fines come straight to the county. It doesn't go to the probation. It's paid through the probation company, but it comes back to the county. Sometimes if a judge thinks that a particular person, a defendant, cannot pay a fine for whatever reason, he or she might give them some community service, as you said. That's in the discretion of the judge. Totally.
I just want to make sure that if that is allowed or determined by the judge, that we get the benefit of that community service.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah. This is just for Jones County.
Okay.
Even though these are county, the whole 8 counties in the circuit have this same, a lot of them have this same probation company. In Jones County, it's only Jones County gets the money, only Jones County gets the community service.
Now, do they go through the sheriff's department, or they go through our department heads individually, or does it go through the county manager?
That'd have to start with the sheriff.
Okay.
Because they'd be on probation.
Right.
When they're doing it, they're on probation, which the sheriff is basically in charge of that.
Because we have them report straight, of course, probation maybe if it's through the county, so it's not third party. But we utilize them a lot in departments, and it's a huge benefit, especially for picking up litter and you know.
I think, and as Matt said, I think at the last meeting, we get a lot of that from the inmates.
Yeah.
And it can be inmates in the jail serving sentences, or it can be just a part of probation too. So
that's what I wanted to make sure. I know the sheriff is very gracious in helping us with inmates that he can allow out, but just want to make sure if we were having probationers that just had to report once a month, and that was a part of their sentencing that they could allow to be community service, that we could have an avenue so that they could report to us and clean up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Martin? Mr. Pitts, so you're gonna have to abstain from this?
Please.
All right, well, this time I need a motion for Attorney Child's recommendation.
So move.
Need a second?
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Oh, ayes have it. Moving on to number 3, we're radio read meters. Mr. Pelkey?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I believe the installation of the radio read meters is a crucial aspect to the turnaround of the water department. And I know that this has been discussed before. Right now we have 1,400 meters in the ground, 2,700 yet to go. And basically before you this evening to ask if we could go out for bid for the installation of the rest of the meters. I don't think that the team I have is time-wise have the time to actually put them in. We're heading into the spring and summer. It's a real busy time for the crew, and I'm just afraid it's going to be a prolonged event, even though they did a great job in doing that. So I'm asking if we could go out for bid for the installation of this, and if we do that, my opinion is that we need to put some type of stipulation to have a warranty with their work. I think that's probably the biggest concern I have when you go out for bid, is that they have to warrant their work for a period of time, within 6-month period, something like that. So.
Any questions for Mr. Pelkey?
I would mirror the manufacturer's warranty in just at least a year.
Yeah.
Manufacturer and workmanship warranty.
Okay.
We've talked about this a couple of times. I actually thought we'd already voted to move forward with it and get them in the ground. Need to be done already.
Okay. Mr. Pitts, you got any questions? Mr. Martin?
The balance of the meters is what we're talking about, purchasing and installing, correct?
Yes, sir.
All at once?
I like to do it all at once. I don't want to piecemeal anything. I just like to get it done. Yep. And working with Tim and Levita on the financial aspect of it. And
so is this 2 parts? 1, we're authorizing the purchase of the meters, and then 2, the bid, going out for bid for installation?
well, I like to do the going out for bid for installation first. And then as I work with Levita to decide which would be the best avenue to pull the finances for that, to approach you before, after the approval of the installation. I mean, if we can do it all in one, we can go do it all in one. It'd be fine with me.
It'd be 2 separate bids, though. It'd be one for materials and one for labor.
I just want to make sure we account for the material.
Sure.
Because I don't want to pay a whole bunch for labor and then we only get to install half because we know the labor costs were high. So my preference would be approval of the purchase of all of the meters first, and then second would be going out for bid.
Okay.
One more question. When we talk about the meters, is it from installation date or is it from purchase date? Because if it's a 8-10 month project, we got a year on the meters, some of them may be in 2 months before they're.
I would say probably installation date.
I think Tim wants to say something, Chairman. Tim wants to say something.
Tim's got a,
Typically, it's from when the project closes out. So if it's 10-month construction period, the warranty starts at the end of the 10 months.
all right, so we get a year and 10 months on the first one.
How about that? That's good.
Even better.
That's right.
Want mine first.
But we basically, can we, I mean, you're talking about buying the meter first and then putting up for bid, or why don't we go out for bid for both? Because it's gonna be on a per unit basis, correct?
As long as y'all account for the money for the install, I'm
Sure.
okay with that. I just don't want us to run out,
Sure, that's right.
you know, because I'm looking over here, it's 570,000. We have how many meters to buy?
2,700.
2,700 at how much per meter?
Well, if we do
see
the
that
full 2,700, it's $150 per meter. If we do piecemeal, it's 155.
There's no SA.
My math is pretty good, but 150 times
Is that on this
2,700.
handout here, Jeffrey?
What's that?
Is that on this handout that you gave us?
No, we,
That's only 1,000.
Yeah.
yeah, it's only 1,000.
Yeah.
I would like to do the whole thing, if we could. And I know there's a certain allocation left in Splosh, but I think this would be a good return on our money if we can do it. And I know it's been hanging out there, and it might have been talked about previously, but as I'm in here now, I know it's an important aspect of it, but we need to proceed with it, just not let it hang out there.
Sure. Commissioner Martin, I think your question was, I mean, the installation will be per unit installations of, you know.
Actually, I would prefer that.
Just need the math.
So we have our hard numbers
Sure.
up front.
That's right.
$55 per
All right.
unit.
Well, any more questions? If
And
none,
do we have SPOS funds for it?
Yes, we do.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Any more discussion or questions? If none, I need a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
You're up again, number 4,
Yes,
Light
ma'am.
High Booster Pump Station.
Yes.
You're gonna be busy tonight, it looks like.
Well, that's good. Light and Tie, as we've mentioned in the past, the importance of this booster station. Really the main avenue where the county pumps water to the city of Gray. It's one of the last booster stations that has yet to be rehabbed. Being a plant operator before having this position, I know the ins and outs of that booster station, and it needs help. Over the many years, things have been pulled out, items been replaced, and nothing's compatible. Electrical panels not compatible, the horsepower of the motors aren't compatible. It doesn't have a generator, and it's so vital. And if that station were to go down, we're in trouble. And so I was speaking with Tim and Keith from Middle Georgia Electric, share with them my concerns about rehab and Light and Tie. Hasn't really been talked about a whole bunch, but the importance of it is so vital, and we don't have another avenue currently to give Gray water. So I'm asking, as we take a look at some of the paperwork that you have before you, of the concerns that we have with Light and Tie, to start the process of moving along with the rehab of Light and Tie. Getting the drawings ready, the financing ready. Basically tonight I'm just highlighting the need for this station to be rehabbed, and just to kind of give you some guidance and if the okay that we can proceed in the rehab of this station.
So back to the SPLOST.
Yes, sir.
Is it correct, $570,000?
Yes.
So looking at the rehab, $315,000, and using the old project cost for 1,000 meters, that's $236. How do we
Yes.
install the other 1,700 meters?
Well, we have the I don't know if you have this paper for you, but we have the new construction and repair account, and then we have the water and sewer savings account. And currently they have close to 800,000 in it.
All right.
It may have to pull half and half out of those accounts. I know it's going to be tight, but this is why I'm before you. I just need some guidance on the best way to navigate these things, especially with this booster station.
Well, we've talked about this one for a while, and it's a no-brainer. It supplies gray.
Yeah.
I'd hate to be you if it goes down.
Oh yeah, this is one thing that I lose sleep over when we have a major situation. It's this station right here, because we don't have another avenue currently to supply them with water.
So I'm going to help you. I'm going to motion to approve the rehab of the booster station at Light and Tie.
Yes, if we can get the ball rolling on it. Yes.
Have a motion?
Question, Chairman, where's the finances for the construction account? Is it in with this packet too, or is it?
Is it in this one?
No, it's not. I don't think you have it. I can.
Did we have it in our?
I think Tim's got. Tim, don't you have something? You help answer Commissioner Kitchens?
As of tomorrow afternoon, the new construction and repair account will have 439,314. Or maybe Friday, it's the check request in. And the water and sewer construction savings has 136,822.75.
Okay.
That's as of today. I'm sorry, that's as of February the 2nd.
That was 136.
136,822.75.
And just to clear up my memory, the 136,822 is where we get the dollar per month bill.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's a revenue stream that's going back into that account.
Yes, sir.
Do we have an annual estimate on what we're bringing into that account?
No.
About 48,000. It's roughly 4,000 a month.
Yeah, 4,000 a month.
There's roughly 4,000 a month going into each one of them.
Okay.
And the project that you recommend is 800,000?
No, he was saying
How much is
he was
this?
estimating the budget.
Okay.
This project is 316,000,
Okay.
Yes.
and the Splosh has almost 570.
Okay.
The 800 is basically
Okay.
adding the two as far
Got
as
it.
the meters and the
That's
rehab.
what you're adding.
Yeah.
All right.
We don't have any choice on the rehab of the.
Right.
I mean, if it goes down, Gray could be in
Oh yeah.
serious trouble.
Yes.
Because they won't be able to keep up, because they're running probably 50% off us right now.
Just reminding y'all that
We
there's a
have a
motion.
motion at this time. I need a
A
second.
second.
Second. Any more discussion now?
Yep. One more question. Sorry,
All right.
I have some in. Are these your top priorities? I know we've talked about them, and y'all have looked through, rehabbing, and I know the meter set's going to start bringing us some
Yes, sir.
more revenue in, which is always a good thing. But is the rehabbing of the Light and Tie booster pump station top on your list of needs?
It's one of the top. Of course, I've said this many times. I think we need to start really looking seriously about supply issues,
Right.
and adding another well possibly to Masseyville. We have several test wells not too far away from the Henderson plant that are just sitting there. I think we need to start seriously think about hooking those wells up to the Henderson plant, and I think both of those wells can pump about 500 gallons per minute, and that's be an incredible source of water. We would have to do some additions to the Henderson plant, but I've had probably within the last 3 weeks, I've had 2 developers call me, and I can see that the construction industry is starting to blossom here.
Back up, yep.
And so, it just starts to bring it home that we have to be ready. My theory is get ready, get the supply side ready. Then if you want to add to the distribution, you're ready to go. You don't have to blink an eye. We're ready. And that's what I'm trying
I think
to do.
that's where I was leading up to that, Chairman, is we got a fine line between our supply, our maintenance, and our distribution, the three major components of it. And we need all of them.
Yes.
Maintenance, if we're not able to pump it to our customers, then it doesn't matter how much supply we got. And if we're able to pump it, we don't have the supply, we're still not getting it to our customers. But if we don't eventually get it to our customers, we're not returning on our investment at all. And we at some point lose, lack of a better term, lose faith of our customers to say, hey, I'm never going to get water. We've got to, in my opinion, infrastructure is the devil in the details, and you've got to. That's something you have to invest in to get the people what they need, and basic necessities of water is one of those needs.
Can we get the estimates for the wells additions at Masseyville and Henderson for our next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Well, I have one thing, Chairman. If we can, I know we have these, but when we start our early work sessions, I think this needs to be a big topic of, what our roadmap is as far as getting some distribution lines in, what customers we're going to be able to reach, maybe even some actuarial cost of, what we're going to get on that return, and what kind of maintenance issues that we're looking at, prioritize. We probably got a lot of them because usually most counties that are cash strapped will forego preventive maintenance and till you get to a point where it's a necessity. So,
well, I think that's why we're headed down this on Light Dive, because it's pretty well been patched.
It has.
Yeah.
Over the years it has. It's to the point where
some Band-Aids aren't the way to go. It costs you more in the long run, and that's where we're at today.
That's right.
Yeah. Patching in the past is costing us more in the future, so let's get it done right and be done with it.
Agree.
Yes.
No more discussion. We got a motion in a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Number 5 on our new business, we've got award bids and approval contract for concession operations for Park and Recreation. To go into.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, coming back to you with our concession contract. As you know, a month or so ago, we went out for bid, and we had Out of the Park, which is our current contractor, won the bid. Y'all had some questions at that time about the contract. In front of you, you have 3 pages there, which is outlining the contract. The only pages that are missing are the affidavits, which is basically not really anything pertaining to him other than his signature signifying things. But the 3 pages you have in front of you are laying out the do's and don'ts and the wills and won'ts of the contract. I think it touches base with everything of your concerns that you had. I know one of them was how will we verify what he did. He has a new POS system very similar to what we have at the golf course, but his is called Square.com. So he'll be giving us electronic printout from that company, which will go along with his check to us each month on the 15th of each month. Going down through there's also a concern about what happens if there's any act of nature or whatnot. Anything that happens with the building, fire, power goes out, water damage, anything, we're not liable for anything that he owns, whether it's equipment or food. Any damages, any losses, he assumes the risk upon himself. So the county has no liability there. We provide no help, no labor, no staffing, more or less. He has to attend his own alarm calls with bid security. So when bid security basically calls me, I ask where the zone is. If there's an alarm, if they signify that it's an alarm in concession, then they have to call him. He has to respond, not us. Other than that, I think there's like 25 different lines in the contract that lays out again the do's and don'ts of his responsibility. I'd be glad to read all 25 if you want me to, or kind of scan through them. We'd like to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'd like to ask for permission to enter into this contract for 1 year. At the end of 1 year, being January 2019, you as a board, according to the contract, would have the right to extend him 1 more year. Sorry. If you do that, going into January of 2020, then we would go back out for bid. So the max this could be would be 2 years.
Quick question, did we always, under item number 3, did we always subtract the sales tax and other items from the gross revenue percentage? First page 29, well, ours is 29, I don't know what yours is.
That would be, yes, sir, it has. Dating all the way back to Ronnie Henson when he took it over when we first did this in 2010. Yes, sir.
Okay. And I think Sam asked a question last time about the basketball gym. That was kind of omitted or exempt. Is that still the case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Losing proposition, I think I understood that. Did we get a value for what was actually made over there, or?
I'll be glad to bring you a report, but the conversation, me and Jason had, and I and Scott had, he averages making about $40 a night, and then he's open 3.5, 4 hours a night. So by the time he pays his staff and all that, I mean, it's basically a losing proposition. And this was actually the first year that Scott actually worked the gymnasium. Previous years, the Basketball Association had a lady named Lori, what was Lori's last name? I see her face, can't remember her last name. Miss Lori ran it for the Basketball Association. When she left the board, they had nobody to do it, so it was a vacant at that spot. So he actually filled a void because it wasn't under his original contract. The gymnasium was not.
But we will get POS from that, so we can actually see what's being made of.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Any more questions? Yeah. On the POS accounting, how do we qualify that? Is it he's just going to send us a report every month? Other than somebody putting that into the system, so we don't have any checks or balance on that. How are we going to?
I mean, short of me having an employee standing beside him, I don't know how we would. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, is there any way for us to know? I mean, he's got to be buying something to sell something. We need to be tracking inventory coming in, inventory going out against the sales sheet. Otherwise, we're asking him to give us an honorary point of sale account. I mean,
just how you going to track what he's purchasing,
What did Ronnie Henson used to do? I can't remember.
Same thing Scott's doing.
But I mean, did he give us receipt? He just gave us
correct
money.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not against asking him that. Yeah. The only thing is, we're not the only county he provides concessions for, and he buys in such bulk. I don't know how. I mean, I'd have to go back and see how he purchased it.
Worthwhile to find out if the other counties are okay with it. And I don't want to think that anybody's doing anything dishonest, but we couldn't report our expenditures and revenues to the IRS like that. I don't think Ms. Levita would. She would probably have a fit if somebody said, just tell them how much we brought in and paid out. But then again, this is a contract that we're not liable for his accounting. We just need to make sure that with our contract, it's just a percentage of his sales. So we just need to make sure that all sales are being captured, I think. And I don't know what the best way to do that. If there's a level of trust factor in there that we're going to have to just deal with, and that's the decision we need to vote on too. Is that
Is that a register tape? I can't remember. Did we request register tapes or?
We never have historically, no, sir.
Okay. I think that's probably the closest you'll get is a register tape if you request that.
And we do have, I guess, historical data on, it just makes it tougher when we're having an expansion of our fields. We're obviously going to have more games, more people, more sales.
Well, it's actually, he'll actually, I mean, from him, he's actually making less. Because now he has 2 concessions he has to operate, so now he has to hire 2 more staff. So he has 2 additional staff he has to pay, 2 working at the lower concession, 2 working at the upper concession, and you're really not increasing sales. You're just dividing the people that are playing. So he, you know, in the long run, he's probably going to make less money because he's increasing the staff.
I think the programs increased too, haven't?
No, sir.
I thought somebody told me the program itself.
You have numbers in this age group go up and numbers in this age group go down.
Right.
So they wash.
Right. Any more questions? Entertain a motion to enter the contract.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Number 6, we have ADA accessibility issues at Highway 18 Recreation. Approved to go out for bid for interior sidewalks at Highway 18 Recreation. We paid out of the 2009 SPLOST. You going?
Yes, sir. The 2009 SPLOST for recreation roughly has plus or minus a little bit, about $180,000, according to Levine, our finance director. And we have some needs within the, and I mentioned this at the last meeting, within the new expansion. Our interior walkways are flat and somewhat smooth, but they're not solid. So depending on what Mother Nature does to us, depending on how much traffic you have, is kind of rough or challenging, should I say, for elderly people or mother with strollers or someone in a wheelchair, and so on and so on. So I got with Wendell. We got some rough numbers. We got 4,300 linear feet within the complex that we're looking at putting an RFP for. This would be both asphalt and concrete. This would make from our parking lot into anywhere within the park accessible and safe. The other part attached to this is at the existing, well, not, they're both existing now, but at the older 18 side, we have an area going down to Curtis Field that is very unsafe. It's been a constant erosion problem over the years. It's part of our ADA transition plan to get that park in compliance. And so, talked with Jason about it several times, and we feel that it's a good way to get a big bang with this money, and we would like to see an RFP on what they can do with the two. I don't know, unless Jason can help me make an apples for apple comparison. I think RFP might be the best way versus bid, because we want to see both asphalt and concrete prices. And then go from there and see what's the most feasible and best way for us to move forward with.
You know your linear feet, you know your width, so why, I'm just, my thoughts, why couldn't you get it bidded both ways?
Talking with Wendell, and we could, and I'm not real good at writing bids, so that's why I have to lean on Jason, but talking with Wendell, some contractors would want to not do any grading, just set the concrete right on top of what's there. Which means somebody's got to come back and do all your safety grading off the side. Otherwise, you got trip and fall hazards. Or you can implement that into the bid where they have to grade back to the walkway themselves. So I don't have a problem doing the bid versus RFP. I would lean on Mr. Jason for that decision. But I'm just asking permission to go out for bid or RFP, whichever Mr. Jason thinks is the wisest for us to do so we can complete these tasks.
for the grading, I think we could lean on our resources within the county probably to do the grading and probably even the backfilling after the slab, but looking both ways. I know I in the past on projects I've done personally, I've looked at both options. And sometimes I found concrete to be cheaper than asphalt. And then other times it's been just the opposite. So knowing your length of your foot and your width, you've got the formula to put out for bid on both, you know, on both aspects to see where your cheapest option is going to come in at, and then possibly look at within on a possible grade and backfilling. Yeah, obviously asphalt will be less backfilling than concrete, but because it's got more of a tapered edge. But you can look at that option, you know, within as far as what option we have to do our grade and backfill.
Yes, sir.
And that way, you actually get the true price. To my opinion, we'll get a true, you know, we get a proposal, but if we actually put it out for bid, I think we'll get hard numbers on each, on which route we want to go.
All right, I'm good with that.
Do you have any estimates on it?
What, I don't even know the company that Wendell called, so I don't want to throw any names out there. But Mr. Wendell did call a couple companies. The numbers he come up with, asphalt was around 41,000 and concrete was a little over 60. So, and I don't know what companies those were.
So those numbers again, asphalt and concrete was what? Concrete.
Asphalt was roughly around 41,000 and concrete was a little over 60,000.
Okay. Total for all of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I don't know that. I don't know if we're not going to do backfilling, then I'd say yes, that would be correct.
And we throw in, if we're talking about, that's just the concrete. That's not rough grading it, getting ready to pour.
No, he said that was both.
Everything.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the walkway at the lower section, what I want to do is mirror what we did about 3 years ago, which gets people down to McDaniel Field and Giles Field. That project ran about $9,800. That's a 35-foot long handicap ramp with a 12-foot wide, roughly 25-foot long concrete walkway going down the hill.
Any more questions?
You know, my question is going to be, you going to have any left over for the basketball courts on 49? Is that going to happen, or are we all doing sidewalks and other projects?
What's the estimate of a basketball court?
And for the record, not against ADA, because Commissioner Childs brought this up years ago when we were having football challenges, or parents having challenges during football season and grandparents. So I'm glad to see it finally coming to fruition. I just want to see what other allocations we have.
I have a phone call about this issue later on earlier this week, so I think it's something we do need to move on. And like you said, the bid process is only going to speed it up versus this request for proposal.
I want to say, I can't find it for the sake of time. I want to say one basketball court goals, full concrete basketball court with the goals and everything, was roughly $22,000. Because I knew we were right on the bubble of having enough money in the impact fees to cover 2 courts. Okay. I got roughly $45,000 in impact fees.
You still have 45?
Yeah, I haven't spent any. Y'all approved to spend $5,000 on the upgrading the sound system for the Knox Center, so that leaves roughly $40,000 that we could put towards the courts at Matty Wells.
And I guess, do you have a master plan of what you'd like to see us do with that 180 that we have, or maybe 120? Yes,
sir. After we finish the interior walkways, there is a dire need coming with the remaining money, and I have no idea. And this would be something we would have to do an RFP for. The existing Highway 18 ballpark has 6 fields. Of those 6 fields, 2.5 have pretty good lighting. The other ones, Stonefield, actually 3, Stonefield, the football field, and T-ball field all have upgraded lighting that was done probably 12 years ago. Chapman and Curtis and McDaniel all have old aging lighting. We did replace some poles about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, but we didn't do anything to the lights themselves. And me and Jason have met with a lighting consultant, and my plan was, what my hopes were after we did the interior walkways and we knew exactly what I had left in the 09 SPLOST, was at that time come back to Jason and to you and say, here's what I got left. I would like to see what our lighting company could come in and do as far as upgrading our lights, because they're going to need some special attention pretty soon.
If I remember correctly, just the Musco lighting bid alone for that park was like $1 million.
Right. This won't be anything significant like that, because we'll use existing poles. We'll use existing in-ground wire. What we'll be doing is asking a company to replace our light fixtures, upgrade our light fixtures. They'll have to work with the infrastructure we have in place.
No new poles, just light fixtures.
There may be less than a dozen wood poles, but yeah, no significant pole changing out. Okay. No, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to see us revisit some of the things that we took out when we value engineered these recreation facility. And like we talked about, finish what we started. We pulled out pavilions, and I think that was one of our biggest complaints, was the pavilions around the new fields, not having anywhere to sit with the kids, picnic tables, that kind of stuff. When we were out before the field opened up, we had some really rough graded areas. I wouldn't even call them rough graded, around the outside of the dugouts and just outside of the bleacher areas, the common areas between the fields. And, you know, I know we straw and seeded that, but, you know, I think if we do a little bit more dressing up on that, I mean, that's where most of the parents and kids are going to stand and watch the games at, and that's not. I mean, we need to we just need to finish what we started, and I've talked with Matt about this. You know, he knows how I feel about it. You know, if we're going to start pulling stuff out to get under a certain number, if we got money left over, I don't think we need to look for other projects to try to find to do with that money. Let's do what we pulled out at the beginning to finish it, because there was an expectation when the first, and I know the $10 million plan's not going to get back to what, you know, we're looking at, but we've whittled it down so many times, you know, and then we have a little money left over, and we start looking at other things to do with it. I do agree with the handicap. That's a infrastructure repair that's going to last us, you know, the time of these fields, and I think it does make a big difference when you can go from each field and get into our complex all the way around. So,
and I'm gonna throw this out there for you, Sam. The pavilions, and I don't know a cost on a pavilion, but we talked a little while ago about marketing and naming rights. Here's an opportunity for a donor to donate a pavilion and have that name on that pavilion. That may be an option as well.
Well, we had $25,000 for the slab, the building, the tables, everything. Was it? Or was that?
Well, it depends on how much we're willing to do in-house, but one like we have at Liberty Park, yes, sir.
I think we should put that plan back out there and kind of let people see where the pavilions are going to go, and ask for some donors. You know, there might be some opportunity.
Well, we got a great.
And I will say that my plan with Levita, and of course, obviously with your support, and talking with Mr. Jason, y'all approved in my 2017 or 2018 budget $27,000 that goes under facility improvements and infrastructure. That was money that I was going to be coming back to y'all this year budget cycle and saying, if we can leave this money in that there's a line item, this can be what we continue to move that park forward. So with $27,000 this year, I can put in a batting cage pavilion. The next year I can put in another batting cage, another pavilion. So yes, it takes longer to walk into it, but it is progress, if that makes sense. Again, that can only be achieved with your support, but that was how I was looking at a way to continue moving that park forward, like Mr. Sam's talking about, with the money, because we know that the rest of the 2015 SPLOST and part of the next one will continue to do the loan debt. So
the challenge is that the gap was $2.7 million. So 27,000, we're talking almost 100 years. I'm not going to be here that long. So, you know,
I can't support that one.
Yeah, I think there should be a better plan for that. You know, it's hard choices, and the reality is this has been a lifelong project for many, and you almost need to look at what you need to do to make the park right, because you're going to piecemeal it. But unfortunately, every other park in every other district is going to pay the price for that for the next 10, 20, or 100 years.
At least 12.
Yeah, yeah, until the splash is paid. So, you know, much like what the Board of Ed has done, they bit the bullet and floated the bond necessary to make it happen. And I can't remember the exact payment amount because I folded it up somewhere. Look at the finishing the project. I'm just going to say that, you know.
So, my opinion is the interior walkways drastically, just overwhelmingly improving the accessibility of the park is, to me, the next priority step. I'm asking permission to work with Mr. Jason to go out for bid on that.
Well, I need a motion to go out for bid.
Mr. Chairman, make the recommendation to go out for bid for the interior of the Highway 18 expansion park, as well as the Highway 18, the lower portion, the walkway down to, was it McDanielsville?
Chapman
To
Field.
Chapman Field.
I'm sorry, Curtisville.
Curtisville.
Looking at both options in that bid.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have a motion. Have a second.
Second.
Any more discussion? If none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Number 7, the Division of Family and Children Services Funding Agreement. Who was doing that one? Do that, Ms. Redden?
Mr. Chairman, I'll kind of start off with this, and I may hand it over to Margie at some point. She's dealt with this for a number of years and is probably more familiar with it than I am. But you might recall that in the county budget, we allocated $50,000 for the DFACS program here in Jones County. Each year, we get a letter from DFACS that spells out the fact that we've authorized $50,000, or that this board has authorized $50,000 to go to them. The one question that Margie and I have run into, I think, and the reason we wanted to bring this before you tonight, there's one provision there that deals with how leftover funds should be handled. And so you've got several different options there in your packet. This is page 37. And if you look at number 4 there at the top of the page,
It starts out on 36.
Yeah, it starts on 36 and then carries over to 37. I think typically what we've done is we've authorized them to retain funds in their fund balance. And it says to be used upon request and approval from the county commission for special projects. We wanted to bring that to you to see if that's the way that the board would like to continue proceeding with these requests, and answer any other questions y'all might have about that. With that, I'll hand it over to Margie, and she can elaborate on that if she wants to.
Of course, I think we've the budget allowance each year for as far back as I can remember has been about $50,000, and within that budget, they indicate that funds may be expended at the discretion of their board. And that the county expenditures in the amount of $1,000 or less may be approved by their county director. County expenditures in the amount of $1,000 or more require approval by the county director and the DFACS, their board. But then, if there's any money left over at the end of the budget year, this agreement or this letter would say that they retain that money. And as part of retaining that money, it says funds are to be retained in fund balance and be used upon request and approval from the county commission for special projects. Well, with that said, because they're not specifically dedicated, we wanted the board to be aware of that fact. And it seems to be the standard procedure that they are wanting to follow each year.
out of curiosity, and I'm just looking at the heading. I see Nathan Deal on the left and Cagle on the right. Is this standard across the state?
I'm sure it is.
Okay. Have we had any issues before?
Not that we're aware of.
All right. And because I've never approved, I don't think, a request from DFAX on anything. Do they have money left over?
I mean, that is a good question.
Okay.
And I can give you the answer in the next meeting. I do not know that.
But I mean, and the only reason why I asked that, because it's coming from the governor's office, so I'm actually okay. I'm not saying the governor does everything right, but we've not had any issues, and I've never heard, as much as we could about DFAX having any fund misappropriation.
Right. And I don't think there is any.
Right. Okay.
The concern would be how long does it roll over into fund balance? So just say they use 25,000 every year and they have 25,000 left over. After 10 years, they got $250,000 that they can request to spend on special projects, and we're still funding 50,000 a year.
I bet you the governor would love to see that. I'm confident it doesn't happen.
And if they do that, they have to come back to the Board of Commissioners.
Right, for approval.
I've never seen them 5 years.
And I do believe, just like with most all defects that I've dealt with, they run on a tight budget and they don't have a lot of money left over. They need more money than they got. So
go visit that office.
I think that's probably why we don't have an issue.
Say it again, Dale.
They don't have a surplus left over.
I'm going to move that we approve the funding agreement.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Have a second. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Georgia County Internship Program Grant Agreement. Tyson, you ready for that one?
I am. We received the internship grant through the Civic Affairs Foundation, sponsored by ACCG.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The application, of course, y'all approved for us to apply for it back in October of last year. The grant period is from May 1st to September 1st and includes 200 hours at $10 an hour, which will be refunded to us. And I ask for a motion for the chairman to execute the agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Just a discussion. Do we have an idea which department we're going to try to find an intern for?
The specific project that was requested, because you have to submit a project, was to expand data collection, create a more efficient filing system, and create an electronic backup for the Jones County properties. Periodically, we have a property that comes up that's owned by the county that the records are all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think this project will be worthwhile.
I guess I just hate it. I think one time we had a person that pretty much just did filing. And I just kind of hate to have an intern that's just filing. You know what I mean? I want to get an intern that's going to help us out, because I know there's been some issues in the Human Resources Department where they needed help, and other departments. And I mean, if we have somebody, because some of these kids have college degrees or in college, so use some of their gifts and talents to help us out other than just filing. So, but that's it, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Chairman, I really hope that we would utilize this internship to something we talked about before, just data collection and a list of all county properties, their value, their location, and their purpose of use, so that at the end of the day, we may find that we have properties that we don't really have a need for, but they're not having any tax value on them at all while we own them. Somebody else may want them a lot more, and they would pay taxes on them.
Sell it.
All right, any more discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you, Marty. Number 9 on the new business, right-of-way mowing maintenance agreement under the Transportation Enhancement Grant Project, PIOO 10671.
Mr. Chairman, I think that will come to me. Jason and Margie sent it to me. It was another standard contract we got in connection with the Transportation Enhancement Grant. And there was a question whether we could not have to execute it and just go with what the original contract said. But it's pretty plain they do want this back as a separate document, and I think you do need to execute it. It just says we will take care of the mowing, the maintenance, any sort of things that are put in the department's right of way. And of course, this is in connection with the project with Haddock and the sidewalk. It's standard. We have to sign it if we want the project, so might as well do it.
All right, any more questions for Attorney Child?
50 years.
50 years. Not like the roundabout I'll be getting.
I need a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? None. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Chairman, before you move on, a question. Going back to the booster station and radio meter discussion with Mr. Pelkey, I was thinking about, didn't we already have that $450,000 set up for the Masseyville? We were going to rebuild some lift station there and do some upgrades to that. Didn't we have that construction account money earmarked for that? Or is that another fund that I thought we had voted to spend about $450,000 on the Masseyville.
That was redoing the media and the filtration, correct?
It might have been. I know that was, coming forward for an emergency.
Tim's coming back in.
So
Tim, we got to ask Tim a question.
On the Masseyville project, in order to make up the difference between, and you can come on up, Tim, if you want to.
Tim, I don't know if you heard, I was asking, I thought we had discussed something a month or two back, maybe longer than that. There was an emergency situation on the Masseyville project, and we'd allocated some money for that to rebuild that. Is that
the 439 or 449 is all allocated for Masseyville right now?
That's out of this construction account?
Yes.
So
we don't have the funds.
We don't have that funds that we're looking at for the total amount. I was worried about that. I thought that was the account that we had used that for.
So as I recall, on Masseyville, we had, when we went through and did the budget for water this year, we had it was showing a contingency of 238 or 283, and so when we were looking for money for Masseyville, we talked about using the surplus water money there, basically the water contingency. We talked about using a little bit out of SPLOST, and then maybe some out of that construction account. I think the bulk of it was coming from basically your contingency line item in your water operating budget.
I don't know how y'all handle the accounting as far as the contingency line item. I know Levita's been pulling funds. She pulled money in October, twice in December, and is supposed to pull tomorrow as a check request in to move money into the savings account. I know that she and Jeffrey, I think, have discussed this, or they've been leaving about $200,000 or $250,000 in the operating account for the water fund.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's part of the contingency or how that works. But I think what we needed from Masseyville was 439, 449. It's really why we looked at only doing 1,000 meters so we could do light and tie, because I know light and tie is a critical. I know it's giving Jeffrey gray hair. Because when it quits, and there's really not a whole lot we can do. So that's kind of where we're at with the. We recommended and wanted to see some additional meters put in the ground, based off the revenue and expense numbers. We look to be right on track where we should be for this time of the year. I agree with you. We're not seeing a lot of extra revenue from the meters that are in the ground. But I know there were some meters replaced that the displays had quit, and they're 2-3 years old. But as far as light and tie now, I think you have to use SPLOST. You probably have to use SPLOST to at least get it started. And it may be like Jeffrey talked about earlier, we use some SPLOST and some water department revenue to make it happen. I just don't know that you can go buy all 2,700 meters right now and pay for them and have any money to do anything else. So that's kind of where we're at right
So
now.
it looks like we've got, if we take the 315 for the light and tie booster pump and 236.5 for 1,000 meters, that's 551, roughly 551. It looks like we got 570 in the 2015 SPOST account.
And then you got 136 water sewer. So that
Right.
gets you back to 700,000.
Right, and construction account is 439 and some change, which would be the Masseyville if that was already allocated for Masseyville.
Right.
We do have enough to do the light and tie and 1,000 meters now, and the 136 wouldn't get us another 1,700 meters. But I mean, personally, I'd feel more comfortable with that 136 in the construction account if we're putting 4,000 a month into it. By the time we get 10, 12 months down the road with this first 1,000, maybe we bid it as a price for 1,000 or 2,700 unit price. We only purchase 1,000 up front with an option to buy, the same unit price.
We talked about that before, as far as getting the price.
Yeah, drop shipment of 1,000 the first year. Right. And then we're looking at the next 1,000 the next year, and then.
Well, if you get a pretty good company in here to do meters, it won't take them. It may take them 5 weeks to put in 1,000 meters. It may take them 3 months. They'll, most of these crews, that's all they do. One good crew, 2 men, 50 a week is pretty easy. If they put 3 crews in here, you could see 150, 200 without any problem. In a month, you could see 700, 800 turnover. It's all going to be how much difficulty they have tying to the customer service line. If it's galvanized, they've got to cut it off, those types of things. At the rate we're going since September, it appears about every other month, finance has been able to move about $100,000. I'm going to guess probably middle of April, late April, she'll probably do another 100,000. Assuming everything keeps running well like it has been. Maybe then you can, if we bid this, let's see, go in the paper next week, it'll open toward the end of March. You'll probably award it at the first meeting in April. It may be that a couple of weeks later she moves another $100,000, so you've got another 100,000 to go to meters. It may be you do 1,000, then we do another 1,000, and then we finish off the last 700. And it may take the rest of the year to do them all, and pay cash for them.
I think we bid them out, and like I said, just knowing that we only got enough for 1,000 right now. Is that good for you? Do we need to amend our motion back on? I don't know if that was 3 or 4.
We need to go back to
3 and 4.
Jeffrey, real quick, where do we see 1,000 meters going in?
Well, I would definitely finish off the north area, the north subdivision, and then hit parts of right side, some of the subdivision areas.
So River North has its own tab. Can they pay for their own meters and installation?
No.
No, I don't think so.
What is it specifically for?
Sewer improvements of the GFA law.
Sewer improvements, GFA. Okay. Just curious.
All right, so we need to go back to number 3 on new business on radio read meters and amend the. Where are we at on that one?
Radio read meters. You're going to amend the bid to.
Actually, we just authorized going out for bid, so I guess we can leave the motion like it is, and then once we get the bids back, we change it to only accept the.
So we don't have to amend it. We're going out.
But my question is, would they give us a better price end up bidding 2,700 versus just 1,000.
Yeah,
They will.
and we're
Okay,
gonna
so-
bid, yeah, we're gonna bid 2,700.
But if you cut 2,700 to 1,000, they're probably gonna ask for the price to increase.
Right. So we need to amend it to 1,000 so we get an accurate price.
Well, we'll bid the first phase at 1,000,
Okay.
and then between the three of us and Levitas, we'll figure out when the second phase can go.
Right. Because I just want to get us an accurate price. Because I hate to say, yeah, we're doing 2,700 and we give them $10. Well, you know what?
Or
It's really
bid for 1,027, so they're going to give us two prices.
Well, they're gonna know when the bid goes out that you're bidding on 2,700, but you're only putting in 1,000 right now, or buying 1,000 now and 1,000 later. And they may.
1,000 at a time.
Gotcha.
We'll
That works.
We'll put a schedule in it. We'll,
Right, so
first
they,
award will be
they know
1,000.
they're selling
second award will be
2,700, just not right now.
Okay.
We'll change order.
I just hate
Agreeing
to
to buy
put one thing and then, you know
we'll
what?
have drop ship 1,000 at a time.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So we don't have to amend anything.
They're just gonna hold the check for a little while.
Right. Mr. Kitchens, you good?
I'm good.
All right, going forward, wellness program, 2018, it's going, you're up again.
Good evening again. This is just a information kind of a moment, I guess. Commissioner Pitts has been talking lately about the wellness plan and trying to put something together for our employees moving forward. And some talk with the wellness committee and our LGRMS representative, Mr. Jason, and the advisory committee and a whole bunch of other people involved. I put together a plan to get us through the end of this LGRMS season, which is the end of June. July starts over. And that also, as you'll see here in just a second, gives us a chance to collect some data going into budget year as well. So I'm looking at starting March the 6th, opening up the Government Center Gym as well as Mattie Wells Gym on Tuesday mornings to allow any employee that wants to come and walk in a controlled environment. The gym's open at 6, and they'll be open from 6 to 8 on Tuesday morning starting March 6th. And then in between that time, between now and April 1st, we'll be getting out to all department heads a data collection sheet. This is basically going to be a fill in the blank kind of a sheet for the employees with the information that they'll need when we start doing the online HRAs through Blue Cross Blue Shield of Georgia. They have an award program. So what we're trying to do is basically make it where every employee will have an opportunity to take advantage of this program and capture $50 gift card. I've already done it, got mine, Mr. Jason done it. So we've had some people, Tiffany's done it, we've had some people go through it to test run it, to see how it works, see the timelines. And so it does work. It's not overly complicated, but it's also not real simple either. So it's going to take a little bit of education and guidance. So we're going to be getting that together between now and then. Also, we're going to be having a health fair in April. During this health fair, we'll also help get some of that data collection that they'll need, such as cholesterol, blood sugar, BMI, and stuff of that nature they'll need to do their electronic HRA, and they'll gather that information during the health fair. Also putting together a employee interest assessment. Basically, we're going to be asking department heads to help get a form filled out, asking the employees, you know, what are your interests in wellness? How can the county commissioners help you? What's something that will spark your interest to get you involved? And this is going to be a critical assessment for the wellness committee to find out what we can do to spark more interest amongst our employees, and then that's something we can bring back to you and try to help go into Commissioner Pitts' master plan as far as, you know, improving our wellness program for all of our employees. So that information gathering is going to be critical for us. So beginning in April, as soon as employees start bringing back their data that they have collected for the electronic HRAs, we want to start having breakfast and learns. And what that's going to do basically is help us, me and Tiffany and the other wellness committees, educate the employees on how to go online and fill out this information to complete it so they can get their $50 gift card, and so that they can also get their electronic HRA completed. This money will, the Breakfast and Learn will be funded through the grant that we currently already have. And so that's where we at right now. So I wanted just to bring this out here to you to throw it out there, see if you have any questions or ideas with what it is, and so we can move forward with this plan.
So thank you for your work on that, Matt. I think I saw an email where you're going to put in a request for an activity ban from Express Imaging. Did they ever send it to you?
It's on order.
Okay.
What that is I contacted, I think Commissioner Pitt shared an idea of an activity ban with y'all. I called Express Imaging, Mr. West over there, and they got a sample on order as soon as it comes in. Hopefully it'll be in this week. I'm going to demo it for a little bit, see how durable it is, see how the functionality of it, and then go from there as far as possibly purchasing that, and see how that goes and what kind of cost we can work out.
Good. Commissioner Kitchen?
So the overall, and again, there's no vote or nothing here. I just seen if y'all had any input. The overall master plan between now and the end of June is gather as much information we can from our county employees, my fellow employees, provide an access or an avenue for them to reap a $50 gift card. There's a ton of places they can get it for. I chose mine to Carrabba's, so they will treat my wife to a free meal. She don't know that, so don't tell her.
You're not gonna let her know. You said.
Oh, of course, I earned that money.
She's watching this meeting. Probably. You gotta remember we're on television.
So I'm hoping that the Wellness Committee can gather that data so we can come to you and say, here's our interest level, here's what we want to try to put together, and then see if there's a way to implement a incentive plan that we can do some kind of quarterly reward using Blue Cross Blue Shield, but also using the commissioners to back it as well. So, that's it.
Department head, you want to start since you are?
Might as well, yes, sir. So in a meeting the other night, going along, Commissioner Pitts asked permission to have a landscape architect do a rendering of what we can do with this park out here beside us, or this property out here beside us. The advisory committee the other night sat and talked for a while, and some ideas we came up with. And the reason we did this is because before we can go to a landscape architect, we got to have some idea of what we want. And so me, Tim, Jason, and Chris Marr met on site and looked at it and talked last week, Tim. There you go.
He stepped out.
So Mr. J, one day last week about 8:30 we met out there on site, and then the advisory committee also met and talked about it. So what we come up with is 4 pavilions, 4 swings, a quarter-mile walking track, restrooms already on site, possibly taking the existing light poles and the wiring and working with Tri-County to possibly do something with the lights that are up there, get them down. They're old, they're outdated, they're dilapidated at best, and put up some street lights that would illuminate the quarter-mile walking track. So we could put those on a timer where people could come and walk, and let's just say up till from dark till 11 o'clock at night, have a lighted environment to walk. And then possibly also having a free dog run area, utilizing the fence that we already have out there, just repurpose that fence to create a dog run area. So people could come and let their dog run and play fetch and so on while they're enjoying the swing or enjoying the pavilion. So these are ideas that we came up with. Again, before we went to a landscape architect say, hey, draw us some, we feel like we needed to have some idea of what we wanted to see in what he's going to draw for us. So, got any input there?
Sounds great.
And
before you said, I'm actually give us an update on the inclusive playground. Have you had a chance to reach out to the?
Yes. So me and John Loeb met today on site, started doing some laser measurements and on some elevations, and we had to pause. We called the playground installer. And they're going to come down either later this week or next week because there's some significant drops between the parking lot and the pavilion that's currently on site. And before we go moving too much dirt, moving around too much, we need to all put our heads back on it. We met there and we looked at it the day they came down, but we didn't actually put a laser grade. We did this time a transit on it, and there's some significant falls. But John's crew was ready to work this morning, and unfortunately we had to put them on hold. I spoke with Mr. Jason about it, and so the plans hopefully will work where they'll come down. When they come down, we'll meet at the site. We'll work out the kinks in that. And then we can come over to Mr. Jason's office, sign the contract, issue the PO. And then while John's grading, we'll order the equipment, be on order, and then we'll be ready to move forward. So that's where we're at with that.
Thank you.
One question on the walking trail out here. How are you gonna get landscape architects? Is there gonna be a fee for that? Or are you gonna put it out to them and see if somebody will donate their time? Now, it's a small project. I mean, if you're talking
You
about
mean donate as far as do it or draw it?
Draw it.
Draw it.
Yeah.
Well,
We've allocated $1,000 for it from the District 2 community parks that was in the 09 SPLOS. We voted on it and set a budget of approximately $30,000 to do it. It's about 2 weeks ago.
Do
Yeah.
Yeah, there was $1,000 allocated to pay a landscape architect, and I think Tim's left, and I think he has someone that he already does do joint projects with that we're possibly going to use.
And if he has somebody to do it free, now that's something different.
Yeah.
He's thinking.
All right, if you know somebody, that's $1,000
go towards the project.
That's right.
Yeah, 30,000 ain't gonna get us a dog park or walking trail up. And I'm gonna just say it. I'm gonna go back to home. We got to finish the project before we start too many more.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Mr. Pelkey?
Well, I just appreciate all your support for the work, and just want to let you know that we are getting our new hydrovac in tomorrow morning, so we just appreciate it.
That's great. Mr. Jackson, your assistant, I see he's in your arm.
He said everything's going good. We are, we're up and running at the new shelter. A few things we got to put on the punch list for the contractors to come back and take care of, but everything's going good.
Thank you. Mr. Resnick?
Just a few quick things. We had the bid opening for the library project today, and that'll be on the agenda for next meeting, but I did want to report to you that we had 9 bids submitted today, and we were very pleased with that, pleased with the amounts and the number of bidders and the quality of the bidders. So the architect will go through now and kind of review those and make sure they're in order and have a recommendation for you at the March 6th meeting. Wanted to give you an update on the T project we mentioned earlier, the agreement there. We're on track to go out to bid in May on that, and our financial certification, which is basically the state accountant saying the money is there and ready to be spent, that comes in 10 days, I think. So we're very close there, and we're kind of scrambling, doing some last minute details to get that all ready to go. So excited about that. We have several other items that are out for bid right now that I just want to mention real quick. The right-of-way herbicide spraying, and the roof on the probation office, and then the repairs to the stucco trim at the courthouse. Those are all due 1 week from today, and so we'll have those for you on March 6th. I did want to ask the board just for some clarification or additional thoughts on the health insurance. I know we talked last time about just starting the process earlier and also incorporating wellness to a greater extent. I wasn't sure if the board wanted to go back through and do the broker selection process again this year, or if you're content to just stay with our current broker and explore different insurance products that they have available to them. If we want to go through and do the broker selection process like we did last year, we'll probably want to go ahead and get started on that. I know last year we kind of got a little close to open enrollment and had to rush some there, but so I just wanted to kind of get y'all's thoughts. Were y'all thinking we would go back through the broker selection process again, or just stay with the current broker and explore different insurance products that they have at their disposal?
I think we need to see, we had some ideas when it came up as different types of insurance, just to make sure that, I know Ben Petarelli, I think pronounced the last name, is highly recommendable as far as areas of insurance the county needs to look in the future that, we just need to make sure our current broker, if we do decide to go that route, is capable of handling, handling that type of insurance without having to, double brokerage, within. I think we're just looking for y'all's recommendation as far as looking into where we're at and what we can do better, is my opinion. I don't know.
And I think ACCG would be able to help with, what's new, what's improved, what's offered that we're not getting or could possibly look at. Some of it we'll probably vet and decide not to do, or some of it we might, and then look and see if like I said, our broker's capable of handling all that. And I think if we look early enough at that tells us whether, we've said it before, I think we need to look at our pricing every year. I know it's.
Think about what happened to Macon Bibb. They look at their prices and went from X to Y, and some people are not happy about it.
I may or may not be able to comment on that. No, I have no comment. But we need to look at our cost and our payouts every year. So.
I agree. And if our focus is really on wellness and getting our health rating down, which essentially saves us money, it's prudent of us as good stewards to do that. And I think we learned a lot last year, and there are some existing companies out there that I think can do a really good job, and that would even save us based on the investments that we're making in our wellness program and the overall index of health and wellness of our employees. So absolutely, let's do it.
Anything else, Mr. Redden?
I think that's it.
All right. We're going forward. We've got a citizen sign in. Mr. Wayne Greer would like to come talk with the board about roads.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as a point of personal privilege for me, I want to thank John for all the help he's given us this year in our area. He has helped us immensely with some issues we've had. In the fall of 2016, the project for the paving of Stallings Road began. The troops hit the ground, and they've been very competent. They've done a great job, but the project's come to a stop for about the last 3 months. I read one of our most competent contractors in the county in Debbie's publication a few weeks ago stating that when you stop a project, it costs you a lot more money to start it again. And we're at that point now. Our county works have done a great job. I have nothing but complimentary remarks to make of them, but they have other snakes to kill in other places of the county. And so our self-appointed mayor in Stallings Road, J.W. Jenkins, was told by one of our employees, and everybody who laughed knows J.W. He was told by one of our county employees that it possibly would be 2019 before we saw any pavement. That embarrasses me. This thing, it'll be rolling on almost 3 years by then. We've experienced some vandalism there because not of the capital property equipment, but other things, some dirt. Some of the four-wheelers riders up there have taken advantage of it and messed it up. So we've got our road's a mess. And so I want to respectfully request or respectfully plead and beg that the county consider securing a competent contractor to complete the process. I think it's time. And we've been pleased so far, but it is a stop. So we need your help. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
So, Daisy, can you comment on why Public Works has stopped working in that area?
Part of it is the last I heard, we were still waiting on the permit from DOT to tie in to 129. I think they're close.
I was told that had occurred, but that's just what I was told.
Okay. And it's been maybe a week or so since I've talked to him on that, so it may have come through in the last few days. I think that was part of the delay. I think I'd probably have to talk to John to find out for certain. I know they get pulled away on occasion for other projects, and So let me talk with him to.
Right, so please follow up.
Get your number, Mr. Greer. That way, if we could get your phone number before you left.
I'll be glad.
So, Mr. Resner can give you a heads up as far as where we're at.
But I do want to comment, Mr. Chairman, because I know part of one of our meetings a couple of months ago that we did put the Stallings Road on our LMIG project. So just to make Mr. Greer aware that we are working on it, is on the LMIG project to be funded and completed. Part of that discussion was using our public works guys to continue to work to try to save some money. And once they got to the point, then we would have a contractor come in and then pave the road, if I understood that correctly. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that it's in the process. For whatever reason, public works has been pulled off, but Jason's going to follow up with you. But once they got it to a place that we can have a contractor come out, then we will have a contractor come out and get the road paved.
And to add to that, the timeline on the LMIG money is June, July. The approval process.
The money has come through, so our list has been approved by GDOT, and so now we'll be able to go out for bid for those roads.
So pretty much once Public Works gets it in position, it'll get ready to go out for bid, and then we'll start the paving process.
My request is to start it now.
Right.
They have to pull off to go build John's new house. And
New house.
Got that taken care of, but they have other fish to fry in the county. I understand that. So they can't just dedicate all their time to us. I just think it's time to look at a contractor to start now from where they are, just complete the whole thing.
Right.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Greer. Moving forward, Mr. Kitchens, you want to start tonight? Commissioner's comment?
I will. First of all, since John's getting all the discussions, and I want to thank him for, John's been having, in case everybody didn't know, he's been having monthly meetings for animal services up at the EMA building, and turnout I thought was great the first time, and then it was just phenomenal this last time, almost a packed room. Just shows the interest that we have from our community, from our rescues, from our fostering folks. It really is a good feeling to see that many people involved in just one aspect of our community, and just goes to show that we're in a good place with animal services. And I want to thank John for giving that informational meeting every month, taking it out of his time to do that, because I think it means a lot to the rescues and to the folks that are involved with it. So thank you, John. One of my biggest pet peeves, I think, and anybody can ride up and down the road and see it, is litter. It's horrible. It's worse in the wintertime because the grass doesn't grow and cover it up, but we can see it everywhere. It's a problem. It's not specific to Jones County, I can promise you. It's all over the place. Litter ordinance is one part of it, which is a whole different subject that I hope we can talk about pretty soon. But I reached out to Vicki with Keep Jones Beautiful, and we've come up with somewhat of a little plan. April 14th, we'll have a community litter cleanup day. And here comes the fun part, Mr. Chairman. Since you and the mayor are elected at large, I'm going to ask that you guys become ambassadors for this program. And on top of that, I'm going to challenge all the other commissioners and and council for their districts for a little community pickup day contest. We'll set the dumpster at the roll-off at Carroll's Park. They've done it before. 8 to 12 that day. We have bags. Get your captains, get your teams. Pick up all the trash you can, bags of trash. 12 o'clock, bring it to Carroll's Park. We're working on getting sponsors for food, water, cookout, some awards for who can pick up the most. And if I have to buy it myself, we're going to have a Community Pride Award, a trophy. And next year, you guys can try to take it away from District 1 if you so choose. But
no, you can't clean up your own house now.
It will go. Yeah, you clean it up your own district. But I think it's a way to, number one, it educates people, about the importance of littering. the community involvement and the community pride that people get involved with when they pick up and do stuff like this. But I think it's an opportunity for us to show that we care about our community too. I'm not afraid by any means to get out there and pick it up. I do it in front of my house all the time, and it just grows right back for some reason. So there's a lot of different elements to it. We got to pick it up. We don't have the resources with taxpayers' money to do it that most people think it should be picked up. Fact is, we don't have the money to do it. We don't have the resources and employees to do it. Not the way it should be. So we have a problem there. We have a problem with teaching people that it's not okay to throw it out your window. It drives me crazy why people would do that to begin with. And then we have a punitive side of it that I'm an honest believer that we have to make a believer out of people to stop throwing it out the window. And I'll be bringing more information on that. I just wanted to go ahead and throw it out there and lay down the challenge.
Something ambassador now.
And I spoke with the mayor, and he's good with it. He's going to talk to council about seeing if they'll challenge.
Ambassador before.
Yeah. So
no, but what would you call it? Ambassador. Say clearly what they say.
I know where you were going with that.
Enunciate.
So other commissioners be thinking about where you want to, who your team captains need to be, where you want to headquarters your team. Miss Vicky says you think she can get us some fluorescent T-shirts so that we're safe when we're out there. Y'all get ready. It's going to be a good event.
Commissioner Pitts, you've been challenged now.
Well, it's kind of interesting that Commissioner Kitchens brought that up, because when I did host a coffee with your commissioner and Mr. Frank Duke, that's one of his biggest concerns is litter. So I believe I think I got I think he's in my district, so I got my first ambassador, right? I got my first team captain. But that's something that is something serious that we do need to look at in Jones County, because it is an issue. The issue that I want us to address and hold some town hall meetings on is the T-Splosh. It's something that's coming up in May, and I feel like the voters need to be educated about the T-Splosh and give them an opportunity to ask as many questions as they would like about it so that they can make an informed decision. There's a lot of benefits to the T-Splosh, but true enough, the T-Splosh is a tax. And with that T-Splosh, there are some revenues that we could potentially use in other departments that we could either maybe even reduce the millage rate, because there'll be additional revenues coming into the county, and if the board would approve it, we could pay off some debt, maybe roll back in millage rate. There's some benefits to it. And the good part about it is people coming through Jones County is paying for it. It's not all on you. And we have a lot of issues coming up with the jail as well as with the courthouse. And I really believe those are some things that we could address with the T-Splosh if it was to pass, and if the voters see that this is something that they want to do. So with the board's permission, I would like to reach out to the regional commission and see if we can schedule some town hall meetings at the W. Knott Civic Center to have one of their representatives come in 6 to 8, 6 to 7 on either Tuesday or Thursday. They give a presentation, and then for people to stop in, you just ask as many questions as you like so that you can be informed. Because I think it's something we've all had a chance to visit communities that pass the T-Splosh, and we can see some of the beautification. I'm talking about litter, the beautification of those communities, and some of those benefits could, come to our region too if the voters decide this is something that they want to do. But I just really honestly believe that the better informed people are, they make a better decision, and it's just something coming up, and I don't want to wait until the last minute to try to get the word out about it. So I'm hoping with the board's permission, reach out to the regional commission, maybe do the first one in March, another one in April, so when people vote in May, they've had at least 2 opportunities to learn more about the T-Splosh.
Yeah.
So is that okay to have Jason reach out to them to schedule some? Or?
I can answer that. They're already on board. And
okay, good.
I sat on that board when we made the decision on where the money be spent. It's all on transportation. Okay. So it's transportation related. The county does stand to come out real well on it, because we would obviously reap more than we put into it, because it's a regional tax that will be getting off the penny fuel tax. So that we come to stand, like I said, reap a lot more than we would pay in. But it's regional commission is prepared to do a town hall meeting. All we got to do is call them.
Okay, good.
And they'll be glad to come in and maybe with Miss Debbie's help, we can get it publicized and
right.
Get a good attendance so everybody can be aware of you know, the good it can do. Again, it is a tax, but it's a good, you know, everybody pays. I see Mr. Martin. Go ahead.
I'm just chuckling. It's a good tax, right? That's what you're going to tell me.
It's not a good, well, it's good for us.
It is, absolutely.
Well, I know where you're going there.
No, we're good.
Go ahead, pick the chairman tonight. I'm the ambassador.
You keep proposing those taxes, you're gonna lose.
All right. Just real quickly, Parks and Rec, if possible, the Board of Ed they poured a new concrete long jump path for kids to run down into the pit. That is not typical, and I know you know it's not typical. If there are any resources to fund either the rubber mat that goes over it or some asphalt to absorb the pound as you go down that long jump pit, that would be great, and some sand. We have our first track meet March 10th, and we're terrified to jump into that pit, but we're not going to have much choice in about a week or so. So if that's an option, you know, the rubber mat that goes down the long jump pit, it doesn't have to go the whole mile that they've paved out there, but at least 50
I wonder why
feet.
they use concrete versus.
They didn't talk to our Parks and Rec director, I don't think. I'm not saying that they have to; it's their territory, but and they definitely didn't talk to the track coach.
Yeah,
it is what it is. That would be awesome. The other thing is, on that day, April 14th, we have a track meet away, I think, in Troup County. So I cannot be your ambassador of litter, but we'll see what we can do for District 4. And if y'all know anybody who's just incessant about picking up trash, please forward them to me because I don't see them in my district. The other thing, the gym, the 4 basketball courts is essential for tournament play. I know you guys want to do 2, but 4 is ideal. When we travel out of town, whether it's a Jones County team or a Macon team, most of the times those gyms have 4 or more courts to play on simultaneously. You have 8 and under, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and if you don't do that, they're not coming to your tournaments. The track program is the only program that is a revenue poor, non-revenue generating sport. We don't have a gate fee. We can't sell anything really. And everywhere we go, we pay. Bless you. We pay for admission, we pay for the kids to run, and we pay for transportation. So we don't have a gate fee. Same thing with basketball. There's no opportunity there to do that unless you host a tournament, and we need, you know, at least 4 of those to do it. We know we're not going to build 4 gyms, so an outdoor court is our cheap and easy revenue. If we take advantage of the spring season to get it in, we'll have the ability to do some revenue generating opportunities. And I can tell you, we took a team up to Tennessee. It was $500 for the registration fee, and we were there all day. And I know we spent at least $20 per player on concessions. And then you got parents and everybody else, so keep that in mind. Georgia Power does this thing with Plant Vogel, right? We've been paying that fee for however long. Is that plant going to be built? Nah, we know it's way over budget. But they spread that cost across the entire state. Right now, most expansions of our water and sewer system is on the backs of the current 4,000 subscribers, most of which kind of lie between District 4 and part of District 1, and then we have some in Haddock. I'm going to suggest we look at the long view. The Board of Ed just gave us a $10 million bond. We know we have some serious issues. If we have one leak and one other major demand, we're short this summer on water. And it's real. We've been talking about this for years. So consider that long view, whether we have to float a bond to do all of those projects and we cover this money. The reality is we're already paying it. Macon Water Authority, I think we're doing about $270 a year over in River North for sewer, and we spend about $200,000 every time we turn that tap on. That's almost $500,000. That covers roughly almost $12 million in bonds. We're paying it anyway. The reality is fund it, get it over with, build it, and then let our system grow to accommodate either new construction or a business that's going to come in town. Right now, we don't have capacity. I mean, we have capacity. We can build anything in case economic development is listening, but we don't want to have somebody come in and then the numbers don't make sense. But we also know we can't afford maintenance. We can't even put in all of our water meters because the numbers aren't there and do the other maintenance. That's real. So look at that as we talk about doing a comprehensive project. I'm okay with floating the bond because we know we're spending the money with Macon. I still don't understand how we sold them a lake and we pay for water. And we don't have a solution for that, but we can stop paying them $500,000 a year. So that's kind of it for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to citizen comments. Anybody like to come forward? Anybody like to come forward? Mr. Pitts?
Mr. Chairman, your recommendation, we adjourn our meeting.
Second. Second. Mr. Sharpen, I get you. Thank you, everybody.
I'm not peddling my bike. Or way. It's one of those weird little roads. Good job, It's in David across on Jones.
I got you. Yeah.
It's got some issues. Bethune is a well-traveled road. It goes from Clifton Ridge over to 49.
Okay.
And it's got some little pockets right off of New Clinton Road. And Horseshoe Drive.